Welcome to the Zoom table read of our Best Original Screenplay winner this year. It's called Pride and Prudence. And it was a creation of our winning screenwriter, Fran Ervin.
Thank you all for being here. This is just such a treat for me as a writer to be able to see it brought to life. So thank you to Frieda and just the amazing cast and Bruce and everyone at Ojai who made this possible. Even if you're not a Jane Austen fan, hopefully you'll still like it. So you don't have to know Pride and Prejudice to love it, but hopefully you know you do like it. It'll be extra benefit if you do. So thank you all again for coming. I'm excited for you to see it.
And before we start, I'd like to bring up our director, Frieda de Lackner. Tell you a little bit about this.
Thank you for coming out. I just want to say it's really the actors who should be up here because they're the ones who brought this to life. And Fran's amazing script. And I just feel like this is just the beginning for this script, and this is a jumping off place for some really amazing things. So thank you all for coming. Thank you, Fran. Thank you all of our wonderful actors. Thank you. This is our editor.
Now, what you're about to see is the actors all on Zoom connections, so they're all in little boxes. And despite that limitation of being in scattered locations, and Frieda did a wonderful job of bringing them together and directing them and getting wonderful performances out of them. We tried to enhance the presentation a little bit with some sound effects, a little bit of music, some imagery to set the scene. But it's what you're going to see basically is the actors reading and performing Fran's script, and we hope you enjoy it. Fran, would you come up and... Can you tell us, Fran, the genesis of this screenplay?
Sure. I mean, I've always been a huge fan of Jane Austen, and it was so sad when I read her final book and I realized there were no more Jane Austen books to read because she's obviously been long gone. So I came up with the idea of what if we could continue that universe and that world and see the characters that exist that we didn't necessarily get to see in her original book. And I was also very jealous of Elizabeth Bennet the first time I read Pride and Prejudice. So Prudence's jealousy kind of stems from my own obsession with Mr. Darcy.
Do we have any questions for Fran?
This was my first time seeing it. You guys did such an amazing, I mean, the cast and Frieda, the directing was spot on. The cast, you guys just elevated it to a whole new level. So thank you guys so much. Editing and just, I mean, they did an amazing job. So like, it was so much even better than I could have imagined. So thank you for that. Like, this was just a dream come true.
Well, I'm grateful that everyone responded as well as it did, given all the technical flaws inherent in Zoom, you know, the varied bit rates and things like that. But I think Fran's story really helped carry everyone along.
I was curious about the narration. Did you plan that as something that you wanted to do specifically because of the way this is done, or did you always want a narrator in there?
It was definitely unconventional for especially a play like, or a screenplay like this. My screenwriting teacher would probably really be angry because I broke a lot of laws and rules. You know, I made the narrator almost a fourth character, like fourth wall. So like, I really wanted the script to have like a strong voice and stand out from your typical Jane Austen page, and to almost have inside jokes with the person reading it. Mm-hmm. So it was a lot of fun to write in that way, although it's not technically the way you should write a screenplay. So I really, yeah, it was really fun to write, and thank you. And I really appreciate the judges for like being open-minded and allowing us to take risk and, you know, try new things as screenwriters. So.
Could you talk a little bit about, I know that when we taught you said that you were thinking about, well, was there somebody back home that was still in love with Mr. Darcy?
There had to be. I mean, he's very dashing, right? So he's, I think, one of the ultimate literary hunks. So like, I knew there had to be people back home who were not happy to see he got married. So it was definitely, and one of the fun things to play with is Prudence is such a conflicting character. Like, she wants to be a good person, but she's not. She seems overly confident, but she's insecure. And then she does so many hateful things out of love. So it was kind of fun to play with that. And at her core, she's a good person, but like myself and many of us, she has a hard time constantly always being good. So.
Can we bring Frieda up to share the spotlight? We'll let you introduce the cast.
Could I ask you to go back there so we can capture it on video?
Oh, yeah.
Just have seats.
And Frieda, if you want to say a little bit about what struck you about the material and the process in bringing it to this state, and then we can invite up the cast.
Yeah. Well, first of all, when I was reading the script, I thought, what? She's going to break up Darcy and Elizabeth, and I was like, no, I can't stand this script. I don't want to read anymore. And then, as it continued on, I thought about all those movies, like, Four Weddings and a Funeral, where you have these characters who have this best friend. And the whole movie, you're like, the best friend, they're right there, they're next to you. Hey, come on, it's the best friend. And then they get together with this bland, good-looking person, and you're like, wah, wah. And so I thought, oh my goodness, here is someone who's written the ending that I've always wanted to see in those movies. And so then, of course, I changed completely to, I love this script, and I want to do this script, and I want this script, to be on the big screen, full as a movie. But there's also something so wonderful about this medium, because with the narration, and the narrator really is another character with, the audience, and we get so pulled in with the audience, with the narrator, and the narrator's talking to us, and we're like, we're the best friend of the narrator. And so I actually love this medium of being able to do this here, and I do want to see it, as a full-fledged movie as well, but, being able to use Zoom and to bring in all these other elements. And then, one wonderful thing about Zoom is that you're watching all of the actors in a medium close-up the entire time, which in a movie, you're cutting back and forth between people and you don't see their other reactions. And so with this, you're seeing all of the characters in that scene, and all of their reactions. So that's one of the beauty and advantages of Zoom. And then, when I was thinking about the actors, I actually had very specific actors in mind, and so many of them were available. Like, the first thing I thought of was Asia. And we were working on a short film that I directed earlier, and I was like, I have this script, if you're available. And so in thinking about the different people, and then I'm involved in these different groups, and both Asia and I are in this wonderful staged reading group called Tuesdays at 9, where actors get to read cold readings, and writers put up 10 pages a week, and so they read 10 pages of 5 scripts. And so I know tons of actors, and lots of our actors were from that. And then I'm also in a theater group, and Tony and Gary are in the theater group as well as the narrator, and other people in the group. And I know lots of actors from that group as well. And I love bringing together people from different groups so that they can cross-pollinate, and then we can all do things together. And so it was just this beautiful collaboration. And really it was the actors who created the characters and who brought it all to life. Truly, I was blessed with the actors and knowing amazing actors. I'm just very blessed in that respect. And as a nice segue, can we bring up the actors? And then I should also say Jonathan, who was Sir Winston, was also in the short film that we did earlier in August. So it's kind of this blend of all these people together. Well, and then I just want to say one other thing. I think it's important as directors and producers in the world that we live in to show the community that we live in. And so one of my goals as a director is to bring diverse casts together, because if we're not showing the community that we all live in, then we're not showing full stories of people. So
we appreciate that.
Can you introduce all your actors?
Oh, yeah. Well, and why don't I have everyone introduce themselves?
Jonathan Ray was Sir Winston, the funny-looking guy in the video.
I'm Angelyn Pitts, and I was Prudence.
Christopher Gary Lawson, I was Mr. Darcy.
Tony Kim, I was Mr. Sidney.
His love for cats.
I have a question for all of you. So Zoom is such a different kind of medium. What was it like performing on Zoom and doing a feature on Zoom?
When the pandemic hit, I was doing play readings and on Zoom, and I was with this group, and it was so much fun. And then we started incorporating music, and to see how that has expanded over the pandemic, and how people have gotten more and more creative with Zoom. It's so much fun to learn new things, and especially with this type of project, it's wow, this can actually happen, and people can actually enjoy watching a Zoom reading through the editing process and post. And for me, it was a little frustrating because my bandwidth is a little low at my apartment, but I was I'm upgrading tomorrow. All spectrum, okay, how much does it cost? Okay, but also the technical side of things is really interesting to kind of work with it, and having props and incorporating them, and I actually really enjoy it, and I've kind of grown as an actor doing those type of things, because you have to know, you're framing, not to go out of it unless you want to kiss someone. Which is so much fun. When we were filming this, and she was like, okay, now Asia leaned a little over to your left a little bit and up, and crescendo the opposite direction, and then I just hear her burst out of laughing. She's dying laughing. We're like, oh, this is funny to you, Frieda. Who knew a Zoom kiss could feel so awkward?
More awkward than the real first kiss.
Right? We're amazing. We probably look absolutely ridiculous.
I think for me, one of the things I really appreciate with Frieda and everyone was the ability to maintain the rhythm of it. Because there was any films kind of start, stop, but still to be able to maintain the rhythm and keep it flowing. And when I saw it in there, I was like, wow, okay. And thank you for the editing as well. But I just thought. But there was still a crispness to it, and I really appreciated that, because I wasn't sure how that was going to look ultimately, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. So yeah.
Definitely thank you to your direction.
Yes.
Because that made it a lot more comfortable. I feel meeting with you and kind of getting, because also I was doing Zoom, the plays on Zoom, and it's initially very difficult to kind of have that same energy and that engagement, but I think the way that you talked to us before, and the way that you set it up, and the way that you talked through us, during the filming, it made it a lot easier, a lot more enjoyable to kind of be together on it. So thank you.
The production value of a Zoom film, it's kind of like an oxymoron of a thing to say, but you guys put in this lovely production value that makes it so fun and watchable. I can't thank you guys enough for what
Yeah.
you guys do
Yeah,
on
it's really
it. I mean, honestly, I feel like I didn't do anything. The script was so good.
Yeah.
The character just says, "This is what you do," and I'm like, "Okay, great." It's so nice to get handed that. So I just got to sit back and enjoy the ride, and that was really cool.
Yeah, like just reading it was like, I was just like, you can picture every single thing happening. And like, I saw the movie as I read the script, so yeah, a pleasure to be a part of it.
You guys just brought so much to it. It was just, it was like watching it for what, I did watch it for the first time, but like, it was like hearing the story for the first time. So it was really amazing. I was just blown away by everything you guys did.
Thank you.
What kind of insights or value did you get as writer from watching it in this
I
film?
kind of want to rip off a lot of the choices you guys made, and now I wanted to be played just the way you guys did it. 'Cause it was really, like, so, I mean, you made it so much more funny than I saw in my head, and it was just like what you brought to Prudence and Darcy and all these characters and Sir Wentz. I mean, it was just like learning more about characters I knew for like months now. And I'm like, it's really cool, like how you can think you know a character so well, and then as an actor, you're able to bring this whole new layer to it. And I'm like, your choices were just amazing. So thank you guys for that. So.
Thanks.
Do we have any questions for the cast or the writer?
We could just sit and watch him smile.
I was back there thinking, I'm retired. I'm about to be your agent.
I'm like, what is this dentist? Can I get your dentist?
Where did you get the artwork?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I found all these images online, but I didn't have the rights to them, so I altered a lot of them in a program, and which kind of turns them into paintings. Yeah, and Bruce found some images as well, and
That's very cool.
yeah.
That's
I
really
wonder
worked.
too, if, like, because a lot of people are incorporating AI programs in their works now, how that would benefit for this kind of thing too.
Yeah. Actually, I was just listening today to a program, I think it was How I Built This, on AI and creating pictures from descriptions.
I've started to do it with costuming because I do a lot of costuming. So I'm like, okay, girl, red dress, bright face, you know, that those kind of things, and see what it generates, and it's amazing. It really is. And it gives me great costume ideas. So if any of you are costumers out there, cosplay kind of stuff too, it's great. Yeah.
Interesting.
You have a question here?
Yeah, I'll ask this to Asia because you're the main director. Was it difficult to keep that eyeline because you're extremely consistent? Like, yeah.
Well,
you
it's
never get
actually
pulled out.
really helpful, and I had never gotten this type of direction before. Frieda actually really helped us with our eye lines, and like she would say, okay, place your script to the left, and that'll be Mr. Darcy, or place it to the right, and that'll be Mr. Bannerman. And so it was really helping with, like, I don't have to look over here while my script's over here when I'm talking to Mr. Darcy in a specific scene, and like, and even so, it just made it really easy to kind of like not get lost in where your eyes are and just constantly scrolling up and down the screen. Instead, it's like placement is really key. So thank you for that, Frieda.
And I would say that was trickier than it looks in the edit, because what Frieda would see on her screen with the positioning of the zoom boxes was not always what was recorded.
Yeah.
So there are a bunch of places where we had to go in and actually rearrange the boxes.
And I gave Bruce many notes of can you, and he very graciously did those.
And when we did, the eye lines matched up.
Wow. I think this could be a really great tool for like new writers or established writers to actually like present a script to producers and be like, okay, well, you can read it or you can watch this, and it makes it much more enjoyable experience.
Yeah, I think you're right.
To kind of really grasp the story instead of having to use purely imagination.
Before you go too far down that road, I just want to say you took a great script, great direction, great cast, and more than anybody really realizes,
Oh,
his
yeah.
editing.
Oh, absolutely.
It was easy for us.
The dialogue in Zoom sunk to an individual frame is a challenge. To do it with 5 or 9 at the same time is a big challenge, and then he's cutting all the images and cleaning up the video. So this would be a massive undertaking for anybody besides this talented person.
Yeah,
Well, an editor can't create stuff. An editor can only work with the material that's recorded. So.
And that's so motivating. These people were so beautifully driven to do this with you. It's really an amazing achievement.
So thank you all.
Congratulations.
Thanks, Chris.